Now, the reality is that we need churches of all sizes. The small churches know that without mid-sized and large churches, they alone couldn't do all that we're trying to do. And the very largest of churches, they know if the smallest of churches were not where they were and doing what they were doing, we as a large church couldn't do that. We don't have entree into that community. We don't have presence. We don't have standing. We wouldn't know where to begin. So you see, all of us tend to be doing things that others couldn't. So we need each other. Now, one suggestion I'd have for churches of all sizes is I would track every year what percent of your operating income comes from people age 70 and above. There's not a right or wrong answer to that. You just need to be aware of the trends. Because in many situations, churches can appear stronger than they are because they still have money. So you want to track, in a sense, it's your vulnerability index, and it's an encouragement to, again, think about, for instance, think about your most generous givers, including your older most generous givers. Most of them didn't start out that way. Most of them were not that generous the first time they ever showed up in church. Now, who invited them to church for the first time? Who encouraged them to come to a district meeting the first time? Who's the person who asked them to take on a ministry in the church? That's what we've got to be thinking about. And it would also be good for all size churches to not only track your weekly attendance, but what I call your monthly reach. How many different people are we reaching within a month? Because here's one thing that has to do with this worship recession. There's some pretty good consensus now that the definition of regular church attendance has changed. Used to, if somebody said, I attend church regularly, they meant they attended 3 or 4 times a month. Today, someone may say that and mean they attend once or twice a month. So what's happened since 2002 is not that a lot of people who are in the church are fleeing the church. No, we don't have any sign of that. But the frequency of that involvement tends to be less. So that's the first point there. The second point is captured in the word focus. When a church is new, and every one of our churches where a new church starts at one time or another, when a church is new, their energy is very focused, and it tends to be focused outwardly on the neighborhood, on the community, on building relationships, on getting to know people. But as time goes by, not only is there that initial vision, but with it comes a lot of things that have to be maintained. At some point, there's a building, there's a program, there are pastoral care needs. And so the movement tends to go from outward to inward, and from being very focused to having our energy spread over many things. So it's almost like saying, if we were starting over today, what's God calling us to be and to do? And in all of our churches, some things need to change. You know, churches often have mission statements. Sometimes they put them on the front of the bulletin. I've never seen this one, but there are a lot of churches that it would fit. It's the unspoken mission. The mission of our church is to stay as good as we are. No, seriously. Can you understand that? But theologically, that's bankrupt. Let's just say you're here tonight and you're so excited about your church. Good things are happening, a lot of mission engagement, vital worship. But would you want to stand before this group tonight and say, our church is so good, it has now become everything God ever intends for it to be? No. You see, we believe in a God of the past, a God who was with us before, with our church, with our lives, with our faith. But we believe this God of the past is not limited to the past, that the God of the past is also the God of the present. God is with us right now. We may not have a lot going for us, but God has not left us. But we also believe that our God of the past and God of the present is also the God of the future. And God always has a next chapter for us. God always has a next fateful step for us. It's like Nelson Mandela said. He said, my experience is when you've climbed to the top of a great mountain, and my goodness, did he climb from the lowness of 27 years in prison to the mountaintop of being president of his country. He said, when I've climbed to the top of a mountain, I discover there's yet another mountain to climb. So you see, you want to be, as leaders in your churches, you want to be the people who celebrate your past. Look what God has done. You want to cheerlead for the present. Look what we have going for us. God has not left us. But that gives you the credibility to say, now, let us humbly and prayerfully kneel before God and say, oh God, thank you for bringing us this far. And now, show us the next step. Show us the new thing. You can't become what you need to be by remaining what you are. You can't become what you need to be by remaining what you are. So sometimes when a change is proposed in a church, some people will say, well, what's wrong with us? Well, there's a lot wrong with us according to the Bible. It doesn't mean you're putting down, but you're wanting to take that next step. So every church has changes that need to be made. But some things, not everything needs to change. Some things need to stay the same. Because if we're going to renew, we're going to need to renew out of our own heritage, our own history, our own DNA. You know, as an individual, you might say, you know, I'd like to grow and be a better person over the next years. Well, you can't do it by saying, you know, I want to be a better person. I want your height, your smile, your weight, your teeth. That's not how it happens. It doesn't mean we can't be a better person, but we're going to need to become a better person out of our DNA, our personality, our gifts, our limitations, you see. So it's not enough for something to be right. It has to be right for your church. So the last thing that's going to lead to renewal in your church is for you to say, well, I went to a meeting at Calvary. Maybe some of you get up in church on Sunday and said, you know, Monday night we went to a meeting at Calvary, and so we just want to come back and report that, folks, you know, the way we've always done things here in the past, and the way we've always worshiped in the past, what we've always valued in the past, and the way we made decisions in the past. Well, we're here to announce we're not going to do any of that anymore. Aren't you excited? They won't be. What you need to do is you need to look deep into the soul of your story and your DNA. Not try to pull everything. We all have relatives we don't talk about as much as others. So no. No, reach in and find something that's good and something that's needed to take that next step. And then you're able to say, folks, you know what our forefathers and our foremothers dreamed of when they started this church? We're going to be more of that. We're going to make them proud. But you draw from it based on what's needed today. Focus.